Welcome to the first episode of the Hip Chronicles, Before the New Hip. Follow my journey from, that's a weird pain, to, I need 2 new hips. I'm sharing how it all started, what the diagnosis means, meeting with my surgeon, and the mix of hope and fear that comes with facing surgery as a yoga teacher. These hips don't lie. Welcome to the Youthful Older Yogi Podcast. I'm MJ Waddell, your yogi host and founder of Share Yoga. I've been practicing, teaching, and loving yoga for over 25 years. I'm an advocate of movement, creativity, and staying healthy in mind and body in the prime time of your life. It's never too late to start, and there's a lot of healthy years ahead. So let's start now. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Youthful Older Yogi. I'm MJ Waddell, the creative founder of Share Yoga and your host for this podcast, the Youthful Older Yogi. I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to do kind of a podcast mini-series. I'm entitling this mini-series The Hip Chronicles. This is episode 1, and you'll soon find out why I'm calling it the Hip Chronicles. So episode 1, the title is Before the New Hip. If you haven't figured out by now, I need new hips. So I thought it would be interesting to chronicle this journey that I'll be on for the next several months, really a full year before I'm in complete recovery. But anyway, this is the first episode, Before the New Hip. So let me just fill you in. So the mission statement I came up with for this series for this journey is because healing isn't just physical, it's emotional, it's messy, it can be funny, and I just want to share it honestly in case it might help someone. There are so many joint replacements. I think it's over 1 million. I think 1.5 million annually in the United States. It's about 740,000 hip replacements annually in the United States. That's a lot of surgeries. So let's just go from the beginning, how this whole thing started. First of all, I've never had a major surgery other than a tonsillectomy when I was 5 years old. This was in 1965, and I think back then, if you had a sore throat, they just ripped your tonsils out. I don't really remember having any anxiety about it. What I do remember is being in this huge crib, and I thought I was much too old for a baby crib. And I do remember climbing out of it and going to the playroom to play. This was in Rochester, New York in 1965. And at the time, there was this famous broadcast journalist. His name was Eddie Meath. And Eddie Meath it was called the Eddie Meath Penny Fund. And it was really to raise money for kids in the hospital so they could get a toy. And I remember them wheeling a cart out next to my huge crib, and I could pick out any toy I wanted. And I picked out the Slinky dog. I remember it vividly, the yellow Slinky dog, and I loved that toy. And I was so thrilled that when Toy Story came out in the movies that the dog Slinky was in the show, in the movie. So cool. I also remember that after the surgery, it was a wicked sore throat, but the prescription for the sore throat was as many popsicles and ice cream as you wanted to soothe the ripping out of your tonsils. And also my kindergarten class made me some really nice get well cards. So that's been actually my only experience with a major surgery. I'm so grateful for the medical advances that we have today and how far surgery has come, especially orthopedic surgery. Frankly, I'm quite surprised that it's taken this long for me to need new hips. I've been a very active person. I've been a dancer. I've been teaching health and fitness, aerobics, step aerobics, yoga, and many of the shows I was in, I was doing 4 to 5 shows a day. Lots of running, leaping, kicking, jumping, everything that our amazing body can do. So I am very, very surprised that it took this long, but not surprised that it's happened. What I will tell you later on in this episode is how it first started to appear.
I wanted to pop in and thank you for listening to the Youthful Older Yogi. I love bringing you great guests, education, and ways to stay youthful in mind and body. If you love the show and want to help me make it even better, please consider becoming a supporter. You get to choose how much and how often you give, and there's no commitment. And remember, I donate a portion of every dollar I receive to charity. For 2025, I've chosen United Nations World Food Program. Just click the support button in the show notes. And just as helpful is sharing the show with others. Thank you again so much for listening. And now let's get back to the podcast.
Let me tell you how it feels right now. So right now, the physical pain, it's pretty high discomfort most of the time. It's this constant stiff soreness and complete limited range of motion. I can't sit cross-legged. I can't get in and out of the car. I mean, I do, but I've created this, I call it the sit, scooch, and swing technique. I sit down on the side, and then I scooch my tush back, and then I swing my legs in. It looks kind of cool, but I have figured that out. Putting on pants, shoes, socks, it's nearly impossible. So thank goodness I live in Florida and I usually am barefoot or in flip-flops. And my yoga practice is completely changed. So many of the poses they just can't be done anymore with my limited range of motion. Basically, my abduction, adduction, flexion, and extension have decreased from pretty much, a really large range of flexibility to, I would say, maybe 25 to 30% of what my full range used to be. So no malasana, no pigeon, no happy baby pose, no Baddha Konasana, no seated twist, no Hanumanasana, and so many more. I've had to completely revamp my yoga practice and the way I teach. But I'm still teaching, I'm still moving. A lot of people have no idea that I was in any type of discomfort because I have learned how to manage it. And so this is how it started. It started with some groin pain. And of course, I immediately thought, did I pull something? Did I overstretch? Did I overwork? And I just thought it was that. So I rested and it didn't go away. And I thought with no resistance would be okay. And it didn't make it better. So about a year ago, and I was in pain even before that, groin pain. And about a year ago, I went to get on my bike and I couldn't swing my leg over the bike. And that was really frightening, actually. And I kind of went down a rabbit hole of horrific medical possibilities. I thought, oh, I have muscular dystrophy, it's cancer, something's wrong with my bones. You know how it goes. I went on Google, I tried to self-diagnose. Is it an impingement? Is it this? Is it that? I looked up all the hip stuff. And I really didn't think it was osteoarthritis, which is actually what it was diagnosed to be. And so I wanted to tell you how it feels emotionally. It's a mixture of anger, frustration, and sadness. Living in this constant discomfort, it's pretty much turned me into a very miserable bitch some days. Not outwardly, but inwardly. I just moan and groan and complain. And going from a very, very active person who teaches physical well-being for decades, and then just being so limited and eliminating these physical joys from my life. It's really been a daily struggle. I've often said, well, it could be worse, but some days just screw the gratitude. I'm just miserable. and I bitch about it. So, and I've been using my healthy, strong physical body in my theater career and my yoga career in every single possible way for over 45 years. So this diagnosis, I actually felt a little bit of shame. Like, how could this happen to me when I've been so proactive about staying physically and mentally and emotionally in a really good place? I teach it, for God's sakes. So this past January, I finally got Medicare. So, and I had health insurance that could actually cover an X-ray. So, as I've said, the diagnosis was bone on bone, no cartilage, osteoarthritis, and I need two hip replacements. Okay, so here I am. Let's get those parts installed. It's not cancer, it's fixable. I had a moment of gratitude when I learned what it was. And then I finally started telling people because basically I had kept my suffering pretty quiet and managed to keep teaching yoga and theater and even occasionally going for a walk. And it was all with the help of ibuprofen, lots of ibuprofen. And I am on no medications. I'm not a great medicine taker. So when I have to take even ibuprofen, I know it's the between 1 and 10, it's getting up there to a 10. And now I want to share with you the reactions I received when I started to tell people that I needed some hip replacements. There were many alarmed reactions, like, oh no, how did that happen? Are your knees okay? I heard getting the hips done is better than knees. Don't ever get the knees done. And how quickly people make it about themselves or their uncle or their neighbor's experience with it. One of the wildest reactions I got wasn't really a reaction. It was a matter of fact, well, one leg is going to be longer than the other or shorter. So the fun fact is good surgeons actually measure that. It's actually what their job is. So I don't expect that I will have any differentiation in my leg length. So, and I realize people's reactions were more about their own fears than about my actual reality. And I never took anything personally. Yoga has taught me that. And I just listen, and I just have really stayed positive after receiving any type of reactions or stories that aren't come from the best outcomes. I don't want to hear about someone's surgery that didn't go right. So I would just say to anyone that is going through this, or someone that's going through it, or someone that's had a bad experience, I wouldn't really share that with someone that's about to go through it. I would just share all the positive outcomes. Pain relief, first of all, and you can get back to your normal activities, your normal physical activities. So I had my appointment just this past week, a couple days ago. I flew into Rochester, New York. That's my hometown. And I met with the surgeon who I have full confidence in, and he's highly recommended. I feel so good about it. And so I was prepared. I had 3 pages of questions. My sister was also in the room with me. I took notes. Knowledge is power, and you have to advocate. I don't want to have any surprises. I'm sure there will be surprises along the way, but I want to know as much as possible before going into the surgery. And my emotional state into the appointment was both nervous and hopeful. So after the introductions, the surgeon said, after seeing the severity of your x-rays, most people would be using a walker. He said he was pretty surprised that I was still walking. So, well, that made me feel like a hip superstar. I'm like, okay, yay me. And then he started to manipulate my legs into flexion, extension, abduction, adduction. And then he had me lift my leg up. And as he was pushing down, he's like, don't let me push down on your leg. And as I did, that's when the pain came shooting and flooding into both hips, and especially right into the groin area. And his next words were, I'm surprised you still have so much flexion. Well, he was expecting much less. And so another flood of ego superstar swell for me at that. And he did say that it's attributed because I've kept moving and I've kept doing my yoga practice and I've just stayed as physical as I possibly can. So the final plan is I get 2 new hips, anterior. That means from the front. He also said I was a great candidate to do both at once. Yes, please, 1 and done, or 2 and done. That's really not up to me. That's up to insurance. But I'm hoping to get both done at once. But if not, 1 at a time will be okay. So after 30 minutes of Q&A, I left with a feeling of relief and much more gratitude. The words that keep going through my head from the surgeon are that in 6 weeks, you'll be able to take a 2-mile walk pain-free. And I was just almost felt like crying because I love taking long walks. I haven't been on a long walk in over a year. I can take short little walks, but nothing too far. And he said he had no hesitations about my continued yoga practice. The only 2 things he advised on me not doing was jogging or using a reformer for Pilates. And I don't do either of those things, so I'm not losing anything from that. And he also said after about a year after your surgery, you won't even know that you've had it. You'll just be back to normal. So this is good news. Beach walks, pain-free, riding my bike, being able to throw my leg up over the bike, and then returning to yoga with the freedom and the stability. It'll be like having a brand new practice. I'm feeling strong and confident and mobile. And let's see, I'm looking forward to putting on my pants without wincing and swearing. And also now I've experienced what it's like to live with when you have chronic pain. And so many people deal with chronic pain on a daily basis. Some of those conditions are manageable. Some can't be fixed. Thank goodness mine is fixable. And I'm so grateful for that. And I've always been sensitive to my yoga students going through any type of active healing, but now even more so, I can bring my experience to my teaching, which I'm also grateful for, and how it is to move through the healing process. So in a way, this challenge is turning out to be a gift. So my closing thoughts, I just want to acknowledge that it's okay to feel a mix of gratitude, nerves, and hope, and why me, and what the fuck, and all at once. I mean, that's how I've been feeling, all at once. And I'm still in discomfort, but I have a ways to go. But I know nothing is permanent as far as my hips are concerned. And nothing is permanent as far as my mental well-being goes and where I'm at in my mind and emotionally. So I'm trusting that step by step, even though those steps will be slow at first and wonky, maybe with a walker or a cane, that I'll be moving towards healing. I'll be moving towards strength. I'll be moving towards this beautiful new chapter. So that's it. It's a very short episode today. I will be having on some guests, at least one, maybe 2 or 3 of also gals my age, or maybe a guy. I'm not sure I know a guy that's had a hip replacement my age yet that they've admitted. So, and having those guests on so I can get back and forth of their experience and also what it's like as they're moving into recovery. So please stay tuned for all that. The best way you can stay tuned is to go to my website, shareyogawithmj.com, shareyogawithmj.com, and please subscribe to my newsletter. I'll be throwing in many more things in my newsletter. You'll get updates on the podcast. I'm just recently wrote a blog about my relationship with joints. That's a pretty intriguing title. And also all the other stuff that's going on that might be of benefit to you. So please go to shareyogawithmj.com and just subscribe to my newsletter. I do it maybe once every two to 4 weeks, so it's not, your email will not be bombarded with all of my things. And again, thank you for listening, and I'll be sharing more details of my hip adventures. And I think that's it. Share this episode and the future episodes or any past episodes with anyone you know that might be going through some joint replacements, or wants to learn how to meditate, or wants a private with me, private or privates. I teach older people, older youthful people. Everyone's youthful. I don't care what your age is. And I can teach anyone who's never done yoga how to move mindfully and respectfully and actually feel good in your body. So please share that with anyone you might know or yourself. Reach out to me. And I'll be soon to be one of your bionic friends with new parts. And let's just help each other get back on our bikes and ease on down the road. So again, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate your time. Again, you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel. And until we meet again, keep sharing yoga. Namaste.
Thank you so much for listening. Now you can go to my show notes on YouTube or Buzzsprout and send me a voicemail or email. I'd love to hear what topics you'd like me to speak about, what your thoughts are on the episodes, and maybe I'll share your message on a future episode. Please subscribe to my website, shareyogawithmj.com, so you can receive my newsletters and be first to know about my retreats, workshops, courses, and freebies. If you navigate on social media, you can find me mostly on Facebook and a bit on Instagram at Mary Jane Waddell. That's Jane with a Y, Jayne. This podcast would not be possible without the help of my editor, Dan Jones from Cocoa Beach Productions. You can find Dan at cocoabeachweb.com. And of course, thanks to my generous guests who share their time, insights, and youthful wisdom. Remember, the Youthful Older Yogi podcast is presented solely for educational, inspirational, and entertainment purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for a physician or other qualified professionals. Okay, yogis, stay well, stay youthful, and keep sharing yoga.